she reflects the views of a lot of people in this country. But she's not doing that by being rebellious or critical of the government. She is just taking a stand as a leader.
An article by the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, in the Times today, tackling the issue of whether or not a pro-Palestinian march should go ahead on Saturday, which is Armistice Day, although it's going to take place in the afternoon rather than at 11 o'clock when the nation will pause, as it always does. In the article, Suella Braverman accused the Metropolitan Police of playing favourites with protesters, saying there was a double standard in their approach, and repeating again her use of the phrase, calling these hate marches. Well, in the last half an hour, we heard that the article was not signed off by Number 10, that a draft was sent to Downing Street, suggested changes were made. She didn't make all of the changes before publishing it in the Times. It was not signed off by Number 10, but Rishi Sunak does still have full confidence in Suella Braverman. Let's now speak to the Conservative MP Miriam Cates, who joins us. Hi, Miriam.
Afternoon.
Do you have full confidence in the Home Secretary?
Yes, I do, absolutely. And I think she's reflecting very much the public mood. Now, of course, there are a range of opinions on this, but I think the reaction to what she says in what you might call the Westminster bubble doesn't really reflect what the rest of the public think. And I was just looking at some polling done by People Polling last week. 48% of the British public want the Remembrance Day Palestine marches to be banned. 18% don't. 30% have confidence in the police to manage them. 44% don't. So, of course, there's a range of opinions, but she's very much representing what you might say is the mainstream view in the UK. So, yes, I very much have confidence in her.
In the interest of accuracy, maybe it's not actually happening on Remembrance Day, is it? It's happening on Armistice Day, and it's not
Armistice
happening.
Day and Remembrance Sunday is the following day.
Yes, it's the following day.
Correct. So it's on Saturday.
Are you content with the idea of the Home Secretary publishing an article in the Times which has not been approved by Number 10?
Yes, because I think most people would like to think that politicians are allowed to have independent thoughts. She has not in any way criticised government policy. She's not in any way undermined collective responsibility. She's showing that she's a free-thinking leader who has opinions. And I think people often criticise politicians for not speaking their mind or for towing what people perceive to be a party line. It's trying to stay on message. And I think you can't criticise Suella Braverman for doing that. She says what she thinks. She's honest. She speaks the mind. As I said, she reflects the views of a lot of people in this country. But she's not doing that by being rebellious or critical of the government. She is just taking a stand as a leader.
I suppose there is something a little bit odd, isn't there? The whole week this week was supposed to be a big week for Rishi Sunak. It's part of his latest Reset King's speech, laying out his plans for the next 12 months. It's a bit odd that it's been dominated actually by the Prime Minister and other cabinet ministers repeatedly distancing themselves from the Home Secretary's position. Today on the marches, earlier in the week on the question of people sleeping in tents as a lifestyle choice. Are you surprised that Suella Braverman hasn't resigned herself, given that her colleagues don't appear to agree with her on most of what she's been saying?
Well, there clearly are some people in the media and sadly in our party who are out to damage her reputation, shall we say. And, I don't think that's a good thing, but I don't think it's true that the Prime Minister has distanced himself from her. I think I heard on your bulletin just now that Number 10 have said they've got full confidence in the Home Secretary. But look, let's take this in context. This is an enormous issue. These marches, what's happening in the Middle East, this is a huge civilizational moment, really, and it will look back on this as a moment in history. Of course, it's going to be in the news. Of course, there are going to be mixed opinions about this. Whatever you think on either side of the issue, it's absolutely right that we're discussing it publicly, and it's inevitable that there will be disagreements. So, I don't think it's a problem that this is dominating the news. It will dominate the news. This is huge.
Just finally, to what extent do you think all of this is actually about the next Tory leadership race, and rather than about sort of calm, careful, measured administration of government?
I'll just repeat what I said. We are likely to have 1 million people marching on our streets on Saturday. The police have shown in the last few weeks that they're not willing to enforce the law in terms of not allowing people to wear masks, not allowing people to make racist chants. If the police were to enforce those demonstrations properly, it's likely that there would be disorder. Now, I personally, as a British citizen, am not happy with the situation. I think this is an enormous deal for our country, and we should be talking about what it means and how long it can continue. So I don't don't think this has got anything to do with manoeuvres. I think this is actually about the future of our country and what we see as see as Britain into the future.
Just finally, do you think that is there a risk that this being blown up like this by Suella Braverman and to some extent Number 10 yesterday making a big song and dance about calling the Met Commissioner in and then actually concluding that everything was fine, that this whole row might actually make the possibility of trouble on Saturday more likely?
I very much hope that that's not the case, and I know that it's not the intention of anybody who is discussing this. Of course, there will be a few bad actors, I'm sure, on both sides who want to make trouble. But the idea that we can't take this seriously and have a serious discussion about what's going on here, I think, if there is a time to stand up and talk about what we want on our streets and what we think are British values, then now is that time.
But I suppose moving the point is we've got the police are operationally independent. They are not there at the direction of politicians. And I spoke to Sadiq Khan about half an hour ago, the mayor of London, and he said that once you start telling the police what they can and can't do, then you've got politicians telling the police who they should and shouldn't arrest, the crimes they shouldn't be prosecuted, the judges being told what they should and shouldn't do. Our judiciary and the criminal justice system is independent of the day-to-day whims and interests of politicians.
Well, the police certainly are operationally independent, but that doesn't mean that they can't be criticised in a democracy. And I think, remembering back to the Black Lives Matter marches, to the anti-lockdown marches, to the Sarah Everard protests, plenty of people on left and right and in the media criticised the way the police handled those demonstrations. So it's not the case that we can't challenge the police or criticise, and that's a separate thing from maintaining their operational independence.
Miriam Cates, good to speak today. Thanks so much for that. Miriam Cates, their Conservative MP.